This is eNews at 7 p.m. this Sunday evening, live from Johannesburg. Hello, I'm Gareth Edwards. Good to be with you. Our top story. King Goodwill Zwelithini wants it in black and white that land belonging to the Zulu nation will not be touched by government. Outgoing Cape Town Mayor Patricia de Lille is planning to sue a businessman who accused her of trying to bribe him. First, King Goodwill Zwelithini has asked President Cyril Ramaphosa to provide clarity on the land reform issue. He made the call as thousands of people gathered at Moses Mabhida Stadium in Durban for King Shaka Day celebrations. The monarch wants it now in black and white that land belonging to the Zulu nation is not going to be touched by government during land expropriation without compensation. The king is also demanding an end to political killings in that province. As part of the celebrations, Eboghleni Shembe, the leader in Nkosi Mduduzi Shembe, presented the king with a gift of 7 cattle. Well, outgoing Cape Town Mayor Patricia de Lille is turning the tables on her accuser. Businessman Anthony Foll accused de Lille back in February of trying to solicit a R5 million bribe from him. De Lille has now been vindicated. She says prosecutors have decided not to charge her, and she's instructed her lawyers to file a R1 million lawsuit against Foll for defamation of character.
Outgoing Cape Town Mayor Patricia de Lille is continuing her crusade against those she believes have tainted her name. She says she's been informed that bribery charges against her have been dropped due to a lack of evidence. This relates to a Joburg businessman who had come to the fore 5 years later, saying that Patricia de Lille had solicited a R5 million bribe from him in order to get a tender for fire retardant paint to be used in informal settlements. De Lille says she will continue her fight to clear her name.
I've now instructed my lawyers to sue Mr. Anthony Foll for defamation for R1 million, because I want to send out a very strong message that those who will continue even in the future to smear my name, that I will not hesitate to sue the hell out of you.
De Lille says further announcements will be made before she steps down on the 31st of October regarding further legal action to be taken against others who have spoken out against her with regard to what she calls baseless allegations. Leanne Jansen, Cape Town.
And now to news of the state capture inquiry. And outstanding security clearances for state capture investigators are still costing the inquiry both time and also money. 66 investigators have confidential clearance, but at least 20 are still waiting for the all clear. This is almost 7 weeks since the hearings began. Well, the state security agencies claiming that investigators, or some investigators anyway, have not been cooperating. And despite a commitment by the state security minister to have all applications finalised by the 21st of September, some have still not been completed. Former Public Enterprises Minister Barbara Hogan is due to testify on Wednesday, while Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan will be giving testimony on Friday. The Democratic Alliance says the effects of state capture on South Africans' wallets is now becoming more and more evident. The opposition party has revealed details of irregular government spending contained in the annual reports of state entities. They've claimed that government has amassed R72.6 billion in irregular expenditure. Eskom, Sanrail, Transnet, Water Affairs and Sanitation and the SABC are said to be some of the biggest culprits.
Total irregular expenditure has reached the staggering level of R72.6 billion. That's billion rand. The composite analysis compiled by the DA last year revealed that the total irregular expenditure across all entities and departments stood at R42.8 billion. The figure for the most recent year is double that which occurred in the previous year and does not include all the departments and entities, as many are yet to table their reports. The departments and entities that spent the most money irregularly are Eskom at 19.6 billion, the South African National Road Agencies Limited, that's SANRAL, at 10.5 billion, Transnet at 8.1 billion, the Department of Water sanitation at 6.2 billion. The South African Broadcasting Association, that's the SABC, that's 5 billion.
Well, coming up after the break, international news, including this. Cameroon's President Paul Biya has cast his ballot in Yaoundé. This as he seeks a 7th term as the leader in that country. See you in a moment. Welcome back to eNews at 7 p.m. We'll take a look at all your sports news, including reaction to the Boks loss to New Zealand in a short while from now, and also see what your week weather looks like coming up a little bit later. First, there are now increasing calls for the term coloured to be abolished. It's a racial classification that was coined during apartheid, and its opponents say it's further entrenching racial divisions among black South Africans. Academics and heritage activists say a new and inclusive term is needed to identify all South Africans, recognising the country as a melting pot for Africans and people from around the world. Lester Kivett has the story.
In recent weeks, it would appear that disgruntlement in coloured communities across the country has been on the increase.
Our people, the so-called coloureds, they are not recognized.
Also on the rise has been frustrations over perceptions that social ills like drug dealing and gangsterism are only endemic to the coloured community.
Who says it happens predominantly in coloured communities? I think let's talk about gangs differently here. Criminal gangs, I, for example, can think about the ones that exist in Milnerton, in Sea Point, in areas like Rondebosch and Claremont.
People in predominantly coloured communities say they're being marginalised, and many are speaking up, saying they're also unhappy with the term coloured itself.
One has to look at the actual history of that term and how it effectively de-Africanized people.
Patrick Tariq Mallet is a heritage activist. He says apartheid-era terms like coloured have perpetuated racial division and is proposing a new term to reflect almost all South Africans, Kamisa.
What I don't want people to get the idea of is that we're coming up with a new ethnic definition. Kamisa is not trying to recreate ethnicity and to have a perpetuation of coloured classification under Kamisa classification. What we're saying is Kamisa represents a non-racial, non-ethnic, non-colour term to reflect our amazing heritage.
It's a term that's received some support. Former COSATU leader and one-time Cape Town ANC mayoral candidate Tony Ehrenreich admits the governing ANC hasn't done enough to recognise coloured people as black South Africans.
A big problem in South Africa is that coloureds, for lack of a better word, are being de-Africanized. Essentially, the ANC and government slogans talk about black in general and African in particular, and for purposes of that definition, coloureds are not included. Now, that's historically inaccurate, because coloureds have their origin in the San and the Khoi and many other African groupings, including East African slaves. But we also include a mix of Europeans who settled in South Africa, as well as Malaysian slaves and Southeast Indian political prisoners. So it's a whole group of people that has its origins in South Africa from the earliest days. So we've got to appreciate that coloureds are as African as Zulu and Xhosa and all the other groupings, and the government must ensure that that is rectified in public policy and in the governing party statements.
Mallet says he's written to President Cyril Ramaphosa to suggest a term change. He's yet to receive a response. Lester Kivett, Cape Town.
Let's move away from news from here in South Africa to news from further afield and to Cameroon first, where the country's president, Paul Biya, has cast his ballot in Yaoundé as he now seeks his 7th term. The African Union says it's monitoring today's vote very closely. Opposition parties have laid complaints about efforts to rig the election in Biya's favour. Thousands have fled the Anglophone northwest and southwest regions due to a secessionist uprising. Polling stations in the well-known and built-up Buya area were slow to open as staff waited for ballot papers and boxes to arrive. Well, to the US now, and Brett Kavanaugh has been sworn in as US Supreme Court Justice. This after a deeply divided Senate confirmed him to the court, and Republicans dismissed accusations of sexual misconduct against their conservative judge. The vote couldn't have been closer, though. Here's the numbers for you, with a split of 48 to 50. There's been widespread protests against his appointment. US President Donald Trump said he is 100% certain that Christine Blasey Ford, who has named the wrong person when she accused Kavanaugh of sexual assault and testified during his Supreme Court nomination hearings. Ford says he sexually assaulted her in 1982 when they were just teenagers. On eNews, after the break, we'll take a look at what your Monday weather looks like, and then we'll have this. A car-spinning coach in Soweto is helping young people overcome their addiction to drugs.
Hello again, everyone. Now that the weekend is behind us, let's take a look at your Monday's conditions. And we are expecting it to be another dry day over South Africa with some morning cloud cover along the south coast. And it will also be quite cloudy for some areas in the east of the country, along with early fog along the escarpment. Those areas will be clearing out quickly after sunrise. And as temperatures climb over the western parts, there will be a high fire danger warning in place for parts of the interior. Other than that, it will be a dry day over the country, partly cloudy to clear skies, and then in the evening it becomes cloudy once again for parts of Mpumalanga and KwaZulu-Natal. The city forecast shows another scorching hot day for the Northern Cape as Uppington rises to 38 degrees, although it does stay cooler towards the coastline of the province. And in the Western Cape, many areas will reach the mid to upper 30s, and Vredendal will be unbearably hot with a high of 43 degrees Celsius. In the Eastern Cape, it will be warm to hot as well, becoming very hot for parts of the Karoo, 37 as a maximum for Graafrenet. And in KZN, we are expecting it to be partly cloudy along the coastline. Winds will be picking up for Durban and Richards Bay in the afternoon, and inland, some areas will also reach the 30s. Warm weather continues for Mpumalanga under partly cloudy skies, but as mentioned, there could be some fog early on in the day all across this eastern escarpment, including towards Tsanin and Thohoyandou in Limpopo. Very hot for Lephalale, 33 degrees as your high, and we're also going to have temperatures climbing above the 30-degree mark all across the northwest, with a little bit of cloud cover developing in the afternoon. Some cloud as well for the Free State, but it stays dry, 32 as a high for both Bloemfontein and Welkom. And finally, for Gauteng, you'll also have quite a bit of cloud developing in the afternoon hours. No rain in the forecast, and Johannesburg and Soweto once again climbing to 28. Heading into Tuesday, we'll see lots of cloud over parts of South Africa, but no rain expected just yet. There will be a big drop in temperature taking place over the Western Cape, and those temperatures drop even further for Wednesday, but over the eastern parts of the country, temperatures will be rising. Johannesburg, 32 degrees and into the 30s as well for KZN.
Well, if smoking tyres, maximum revs and skillful stunts excite you, this is the story for you. Renowned spinner Jeff James is going to be opening his own academy right here in Soweto. James will be teaching people how to spin a gujeshe, or any car of their choice, really. Ditero Selepe caught up with him.
You know, spinning is all about adrenaline. Yes, it's all about adrenaline. Since it's been long being in this game, and I would simply say I enjoy it.
Spinning maestro Chef James will be opening his very own academy. The Chef James Spinner Hub Academy will also be an outlet for troubled youths seeking a clean start.
If you can look at the young ones, they love spinning. They love spinning. They love actually a PM, you know. So this is the right platform to teach them and guide them, because if you can look at our youth of today, they are more into drugs, you know, and all those sort of things. So why can't we keep them busy? Come to us and let's keep you busy. I think this is the right direction for them.
One of James's students, Bongani Mkachwa, is a former drug user who says his principal's guidance has helped him a lot.
Spinning, you could say it saved me. It gives you a drive. It's more than a sport to other people. That is why you see so many people following spinning. It's a lifestyle, actually.
The Chef James Spin Hub Academy is set to open its doors in November. Ditros Lepe, Johannesburg.
And finally, Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu is celebrating his 87th birthday today, but he'll sadly be spending it, as we know, in a Cape Town hospital. The Arch was hospitalised last week for a series of tests. Now, let's take a look at some of the Arch's dance moves and lighter moments. Well, happy birthday to the Arch and recover well. A reminder of your main story this evening here on eNews at 7. King Goodwill Zwelithini wants it in black and white that land belonging to the Zulu nation will not be touched by government. As always, my thanks to the team behind the scenes. From myself, Gareth Edwards. Have a good evening. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.